An IndiGo flight crisis continues as thousands of flights have been cancelled since Monday, and now more action has come in from Civil Aviation Ministry. The government has now invoked regulatory powers to rein in what it calls opportunistic pricing by airlines, with fares shooting up amid mass cancellation. The ministry has issued strict directive. Fare caps are now in place across all disrupted routes, and airlines must immediately comply. The order issued to protect passengers in distress is aimed especially at senior citizens, students and patients who urgently need to travel and were being pushed into financial hardship. Officials say that they are closely monitoring real-time fare data through coordination with airlines and travel platforms, and have warned that any violation of the rules will invite swift action in public interest. The fare caps will remain until operations fully return to normalcy. And this even as the chaos at various airports through the country continues, with multiple IndiGo flights cancelled since early morning today. And IndiGo says it is addressing customer issues. It's working to stabilize operations very soon. IndiGo has also promised priority refunds to all affected passengers. And flight cancellations have now dropped below 850 today, according to IndiGo, but many flights are still cancelled as of this evening. And joining me on the show is Captain Anil Rao, General Secretary, Airlines Pilot Association of India. Also, my colleague JP is in Mumbai Airport. We are given to understand, JP, coming to you. Jayaprakash, tell us what's happening there. Kaisa hai wahan ka mahol, and is the situation normal? How are the IndiGo passengers responding now?
देखिए, सुबह से जो पूरा माहौल था वो माहौल अभी बदला है। अब जो प्राइस है दूसरे जो एयरलाइंस हैं, जैसे स्पाइस जेट है, आकाशा है, एयर इंडिया है, उसकी प्राइस भी लगातार कम हो रही है। और इंडिगो में भी जो फ्लाइट्स है उसकी नई उड़ानें जो है वो धीरे धीरे शुरू हो रही हैं। ये इंडिगो काउंटर है, यहाँ पर रिजर्वेशन एंड टिकटिंग काउंटर चलता है। जिनकी फ्लाइट कैंसिल हुई है वो यहाँ पर अपना रिफंड लेने के लिए आ रहे हैं, और कई लोग यहाँ पर ऐसे हैं जो रीशेड्यूल करवा रहे हैं अपनी फ्लाइट, और कई लोगों की जो फ्लाइट कैंसिल हुई है वो अभी भी कतार में। सर, आप कहाँ से, आपकी फ्लाइट कैंसिल हुई, कहाँ जा रहे थे आप?
अहमदाबाद जाने वाला हूँ। 9 बजे का अभी स्टेटस कैंसिल दिखा रहा है, लेकिन वेब चेक इन हो गया तो पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है, तो बेटा कंफर्म व्हाट इज द एक्चुअल में
करने यहाँ पर आए हैं। और हमारे साथ हैं जो दिल्ली जा रहे थे। सर, आप बताएं आपकी कौन सी फ्लाइट थी दिल्ली की जो कैंसिल हुई थी?
मेरी इंडिगो फ्लाइट थी अभी रात की, वो कैंसिल ही हो गई। अब मैंने अर्जेंट में स्पाइसजेट कराई, जो जिसका फेयर आता है 4500, लेकिन मैंने 20,000 में पे करी है।
देखिए, यहाँ पर मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा, स्पाइसजेट की ये फ्लाइट है। इंडिगो की इनकी फ्लाइट कैंसिल हुई मुंबई दिल्ली, तो इन्होंने स्पाइसजेट कराई है। 4,500 रुपए का ये टिकट होता है मुंबई दिल्ली का, 20,000 रुपए में इन्होंने कराया है, यानी 3 गुना 4 गुना ज्यादा महंगा ये टिकट करा रहे हैं। तो आपको महंगा नहीं पड़ रहा भाई साहब? कितने लोग हैं आप लोग?
क्या करें, हमें तो अकेला ही हूँ, मजबूरी है भैया, जाना तो है। अब इंडिगो फ्लाइट ऐसे कैंसिल होने लगी, और जैसे स्पाइसजेट हुई, आकाशा हुई, सबके रेट हाई पहुंच गए बिल्कुल। परसों तक तो नॉर्मल थे, लेकिन कल से बहुत ज्यादा हाई हो गए।
आप कितने घंटों से यहाँ पर फंसे हुए मुंबई में, मुंबई एयरपोर्ट पर?
भैया, मैं तो सुबह से ही फंसा हुआ हूँ एयरपोर्ट पर। तकरीबन 11 बजे से देख लो, अब क्या टाइम हो गया, शाम के 6 बज गए। परेशानी तो भैया झेलनी पड़ रही है बहुत ज्यादा।
क्या राजधानी और वहाँ पर टिकटें अवेलेबल नहीं थी?
कोई भी अवेलेबल नहीं थी। मैंने हर जगह ट्राई किया, मैंने ऑलरेडी बस भी ट्राई किया, लेकिन बस में भैया 40 घंटे 30 घंटे लग रहे थे, और लंबा सफ़र, परेशान भी ज़्यादा हो जाते हैं। इसीलिए फिर मैं कहा देखते हैं भैया जैसे होता है। अब फ्लाइट
आपने 20,000 का टिकट दिया, तो आप देख रहे हैं कि जो 4,000 5,000 का टिकट है वो 20,000 में बुक किया गया है। इंडिगो की फ्लाइट कैंसिल होने का खामियाजा जो है सबसे ज्यादा अगर किसी एयरपोर्ट पर देखने मिला तो मुंबई एयरपोर्ट पर देखने मिला। यहाँ पर हमने देखा कि कई नाराज पैसेंजर जो हैं वो जो अंदर की टॉकिंग मशीन होती है उसे उठाकर बाहर तोड़ते और फेंकते हुए नजर आए थे। कई पैसेंजर ऐसे थे जिन्होंने अंदर जो स्टाफ है उनके साथ में जो है उन्होंने बहस की। मैम, आप कहाँ से आ रहे हैं और कहाँ किस तरफ जा रहे हैं? कैंसिल कब हुई आपकी फ्लाइट?
हम चेन्नई से है, और हमारा कल का फ्लाइट था 7 o'clock का, वो आज का रीशेड्यूल हुआ है। तो अभी हम देखते हैं।
All right, Jayaprakash, I'm going to come to you. Thank you very much for all those details. Also joining us on the show at this point is Captain Anil Rao, General Secretary for Airline Pilots Association of India. Sir, thank you very much for taking time out from your busy schedule. Let me quickly begin by asking you, how do you see the latest directive from Ministry of Civil Aviation, where Civil Aviation Ministry has kept in abeyance the new reformed FDTL rules for pilots' resting period. Now, these rules were brought in to ensure that the pilots in India and the kind of rest that they get is at par with pilots getting the similar rest in European Union and different other countries. How do you see government's move to keep FDTL rules in abeyance?
See, the FDTL norms which are made are made on a lot of scientific study with international guidelines by the ICAO and other things which are involved is kind of type of operations you do. And then the FDTL, that is the flight duty time limits, are made. So it might not be exactly how the other countries have, because each country or each operator or each area of operations have a different set of duty time limit. And that was the main spirit or the logic behind having a duty time limit, was that once it was made with an intention of max limitation. These FDTL rules which are made are for max limitation, but not a target to be exploited. But unfortunately, what is happening is the operators treat this as their legal right to exploit the max duty time limit. That is not the way it is. Even the previous Director General of Civil Aviation, when they had rolled off with these duty time limitations initially, had categorically said that these limitations are maximum limit, and each operator, each organization should have their own buffer. It is clearly given in the FDTL rule also that each the operator should have his own buffer and should constitute its own duty time limit by keeping these at maximum depending upon the kind of operation they have. Now you have airline operations happening, you have cargo operations happening. Cargo operations usually have in the night. So you should have your own mitigating factor. These are basically fatigue, and fatigue leads to safety compromise. This is all basically is done for human life. It is not for any pilot community or any crew welfare. This is purely done for the passenger safety and their welfare. So when these rules are flouted, or these rules are given dispensation exemptions or probably in abeyance, that the whole purpose of its being there is defeated. So we are quite surprised that how the regulation, how the operators have been asking time for last 2 years. Now it's not that suddenly you have come up with a regulation overnight and the regulator asks you to implement tomorrow morning. No, it has been done, and that too in phase-wise manner they have been asked to do. Now coming to the point, of crew shortage, we don't consider...
Captain, that brings me to my next question, Captain Anil Rao, and that is, you said enough and more time was given. About 2 years' time was given for implementation of the FDTL rules since January of 2024. We are very close to the end of 2025. IndiGo says that they were unprepared, and it is because of the new FDTL rules. There was a pilot shortage, and hence the chaos around flight operations. Would you agree with that assessment? And more importantly, do you think enough and more time was given?
I doubt if there is I doubt if the fact which they are claiming is shortage of crew is even true to any close point. Why? Because now let me tell you that now that does mean that you do not have crews. What you mean to say that the FDTL has been rest periods. For example, it's not just about rest period. There are a lot of other things which have been implemented to enhance safety. But now let's talk about rest period of 36 hours, which has been 48 hours. It might be appearing as 12 hours, but it's not as percentage as it is. So now let me ask you, number one, how is that all other airlines are okay with it and implemented it? And number two is only that IndiGo has a problem. And point number three is that you mean to say that a little amount of rest time which has been increased has crippled the whole airline to a point that thousands of flights have been curtailed or cancelled. I mean, is that a logic behind it? Don't you or don't anybody plan with some kind of a buffer or some kind of a standby behind them? Or do they make their pilots or the crew fly to the maximum? Does that it raises a question saying today that since you cannot you say that there was a crew crunch or a shortage of pilots. That means till now you were utilizing them to the max limit, say 12 hours of a day. So is that what you were doing? That itself raises questions that you were pushing your crew to their limits, making them fly or making them work to the limits, and over and above you were asking for dispensation for extra time. And since that was not given, is this what you resort to? That you cancel flights like this? This is absolutely not in any logical sense or reasoning that suddenly 1,000 pilots, 1,000 plus flights have been cancelled because you could not handle a little increase in the FDTL rest time. That the whole logic does not fit in. So we do not agree that there was any shortage of pilot.
Okay.
It is the implementation of the rule was flouted, and they wanted dispensation, which they did not get. So probably this is one of the reasons. And today, what
therefore,
has
I'm going to
happened
ask you
is
to I'm going to ask you to perhaps expand on that, sir. So you're saying it wasn't, pilot shortage. It's not pilot shortage that resulted in 1,000 plus flights getting cancelled or rescheduled. What would you attribute this chaos to?
the attribute to this chaos, we don't know what the inside story is. Maybe there is some mismanagement happening. We don't know. Maybe this was the pressure tactics to get the rule out, which has happened eventually. So success has happened. Now, what we are saying is the reasons given are not correct. Reasons given, crew crunch is or pilot shortage is not correct, because these schedules, winter schedule or summer schedules, are made in advance and given to the regulator for approval, and their approval has come. And only after the approval of the DGCA that you start a schedule for that season. And that's how the booking happens, and that's how flights are made, and that's how roster are made. You cannot come overnight and say, oh, sorry, we miscalculated it, so now we don't have crew. Okay, I understand. Crew, how many crew? 10%, 20%, 1,000 flights is not a percentage that crew, unless the crew has gone down or missing in action, or there's no crew available, or all crew have ran away, then you can expect that kind of a calamity. This is actually like a national emergency which has happened. So many flights getting cancelled is not cannot be a miscalculation. Please, this is absolutely not viable. We cannot buy this fact.
All
There
right.
has to be something more reason to it, and that is a reason we have requested Ministry and DGCA to have a thorough investigation and to reprimand and to penalize people who are behind this, a programmed kind of inconvenience caused to the passengers.
All right, you're calling it a programmed inconvenience. Those are, very significant statements that you're making on the show today. So I have to ask you, sir, if the investigation does arrive at the fact that this chaos could have been avoided, what kind of penalty do you believe IndiGo must be paying today for the chaos that it has caused, for many people who are stranded for hours and days now at their various destinations?
The penalties here are dictated by the regulators, by the law. We are not here somebody to say that you hang him or you do this or you penalize with so much of monetary penalties. We are not here to do that. We are here as an organization, as an association. We are here to enhance safety and implement the rule which was made 2 years back. That's all. And then program yourself. I mean, schedule or schedule your operations according to the rule. But what is now happening is the rule is made according to the schedule of the operators. Now, when are we going to stop this? If you go back in history, 2007, the first FDTL which was rolled out in 2007 was put in abeyance exactly the same way, because the operators pressurized them because they were going under the commercial losses. So they removed they removed the rolled out implemented flight duty time limitation 2007 and put in abeyance. Imagine for how long? For 4 years. Till 2011, there was no duty time limit for the crew, and they went back to the Archie Act circular which was made in 1992, where that study of fatigue risk management was not done. There was no study. It was done only for domestic operations and a few nearby operations, because there were only 2 airlines that time existing.
So before I let you go, sir,
Is this where we are going back?
My last question to you, sir, before I let you go. We all know that pilot fatigue is a real phenomena. We know that passenger safety should be at the heart of all decisions DGCA takes. How do you see DGCA's decision today to keep, the new FDTL rules in abeyance? And do you believe at this point that the regulator has failed pilots and crew members?
The regulator might, it's not about crew members or it is pilots. It is the regulator has probably failed the safety of the people, of the passengers flying. The putting a rule which has been ruled out and putting it back in abeyance is like taking the rule and putting back in the dustbin. And now we are asking the regulator, we are asking the authorities as to what rule are we flying today? Today, the airplanes are flying under which rule? We have no idea. Do we go back to the rule 2019? Do you go back to the rule 2019 revision 1 of 2024 January? Or do you go back to the phase 1, or do you go back to the phase 2 with dispensation? We have no idea, because there's so many rules which have been tweeted with phases and dispensation and exemptions that we don't know what rule are we supposed to follow. So today today the airplanes are flying probably with no rule, because you have put the rule in abeyance. Even if you're putting the rule in abeyance, what rules are we supposed to follow is to be made clear to the public. That's what safety is all about. So whether the pilots are happy or sad is a secondary issue. We are not talking about that. Pilots will fly what the rule is, but please get the rule and not put the rule back in the dustbin. That is what we are saying.